Welcome back to Stand Up Your Tubes, where we control the tubes and the tubes never control us. So this is, I don't know if I have names for them. Somebody at lunch today suggested Randy and Randall, and it does sound like a reindeer name. So I think this will be Randy and this will be Randall, the reindeers. And they're ready to lead Santa's sleigh. They have their adorable little red noses. Their antlers are all lit up for Christmas. I think they're going to be so special and something so different for those of you that have a craft table that say there's 3 or 4 tables and yours has the reindeers with the lit up lights. I think they're going to come to your table. So I hope you'll make them and I hope you'll enjoy making them. The link for the little light kits from Amazon, 6 for $6.99, and that's complete, including I have Amazon free shipping. So that's not very much to add so much pizzazz. The difference between the two are that this one has taller antlers, and I put a bendy or a twisty curler in them so they could hold their shape. And increase the row count from 30 to 35. You might want to see how long your curler is and maybe even go to 40. I'm going to be releasing the tutorials now on Tuesday to correspond with Testimony Tuesdays. And the testimony this Tuesday that will be in the testimony playlist is Stephanie's. And at 12 years old, her mother, who was looking into the New Age movement, unknowingly joined a cult that turned out to actually be a satanic occult. They were in it for 2 years, and what it took to finally break free from that. It was a terrorizing time for her as a child, and I hope that you will check out her testimony because every testimony has a victorious ending. I love you. I hope you'll stay tuned for the tutorial and that you'll add these to your creature collection. Thank you so much. Let's get started making our adorable reindeer. So I have my tube made and I've made sure that all the yarn on the inside is triple knotted, and then I cut it off short so that the colors don't have such a opportunity to travel. This is the side that I tied everything together on. You'll see possibly a little color variation right here, and that's because I started out with this dark brown thread, and this was donated yarn. It was all one skein, but all of a sudden I noticed that the yarn was cut and it followed with a lighter brown. So fortunately, it happened at less than the halfway, so this will become the side that I turn out. And it was a much easier yarn to work with, believe me. This one was an absolute nightmare. So what are the row counts? Well, this is the butt. So it's 15 rows of your dark brown. Then 2 rows of red or whatever color complements your little sweater. And that brings you to 17. Then your sweater color, mine is green, is 10 rows, and that brings it to 27. This is the typical size for most heads on bears and other creatures, and it's a total of 50 rows of your dark brown. Then that'll bring you up to 77. You'll need to do your 10 rows of green, your 2 rows of red, and now you're at 89, and your 15 rows of dark brown, which brings you back to 104. So once you have this tube cranked out, we're going to fold it in half, and I have to go with this side right here because all the rest of my yarn, the bulk of it, happened to be this slightly lighter color. So flip it in half. Line up your bottom edges. Line up your green so that it's touching on the inside. You can just look inside, hold it there. And then when you get everything lined up, all your green is lined up along the bottom, you're going to cinch off for its neck and cinch off for its head. And since this is 50 rows, the head is going to be at 25 rows, but we're going to give it a little bit of a neck. And when we do the cord to cinch it with, we're going to come up a couple rows off this green, and that'll just give it a little bit of a neck coming down. So I want to do that off camera, line this all up, and I'm going to go under a row, over a row, under a row, over a row, under, over. And then when I come out at the back, I'll leave myself some strings to tie with. And you might even want to make that a double layer cord so that you can pull it really, really tight without any chance of it breaking. So I'm going to get mine ready and be right back. This is a good time to put your bobby pins to work. Look underneath, line it up, put a bobby pin through both layers, line it up, put a bobby pin, line it up, put a bobby pin, and it will stay put for you while you put this row in. And then at the top, also, we're going to have to cinch this up, so smooth it all out. And we'll put our draw cord up there, going under a V-stitch row, over a V-stitch row, under, over, until you get back around. So I'll have 2 drawstrings in just a moment. Okay, I have the neck cord in, the top of the head, and I'm just going to not cinch it up where I can't get my hand in, but cinch it up around my hand along the bottom, which is the 15 row part. And that's where we're going to snug it up at the end when we have all our stuffing in. Okay, so we'll stuff out the head because we want to figure out where we're going to put our eyes, and it's easier to do that if you have a little bit of stuffing in it. It's also easier to unloose this pull cord that you put in with your needle than it is a cast off row or a cast on row. They can be very difficult to open back up after you've closed them. But either way, we're going to use bows. Whenever we cinch up, we'll leave room for 2 to 3 fingers to go in so we can fine tune our stuffing, and then we'll put a bow on it until we're completely happy with the way it's sitting, the way it's stuffed out. And at that point in time, we'll tie it off then. So I'm going to get a little bit of stuffing in the head. And when I cinch this neck up, I'm going to not cinch it up real tight because it does have a neck. And I'm going to tie a bow in it, not a knot. So I'm going to grab the stuffing and lightly put some in the head. I'll join you back with some eyes. I'm going to use safety eyes. You can use any eyes that you think would look adorable on your reindeer. We're doing the body and the face first. So now let's talk about the nose. This is on your 22 pin, and it is going to be 20 rows. And I cinched up this edge just a little bit so I would know that this was my cast off row, because it'll always have the neater stitches than your cast on row, because we do the cast on so loose to keep from splitting those threads. So it's going to be a beanie. And I'm going to put this, my good side in, pop my cord through so that after I tie it off, I can just flip it back around the other way again. If you have a bad stitch, this is your time to make sure, no matter which end is your cast on and cast off row, that bad stitch, if you have one, ends up inside your nose and not on the outside. Okay, just cinching it closed, giving it a good tie, shortening one of these threads a little bit, but taking the longest one that's left and bringing it out to the edge, put a little knot in it, because I can sew with that. So here I go. Just bringing it out to the top, one little knot, a single knot. And now I have a thread to sew with. And this becomes the nose. So our nose goes on like this, and that'll help us. Here's the neck. So right about here, it's hard to see this dark, but it makes the cutest reindeer. So a finger between your green and the bottom of your nose. And hold that on there, and then find your eyes, and we'll pop some eyes in. I'm getting out my Amazon eyes that have the little eyelid around them, and normally I would make it black. Kind of depends on the color of the yarn that you're using, though, whether or not you think it needs to be black so that it can pop off of there. And I had one that I did black, but I'm going to hold it on with the lighter brown because I think that it's a toss-up whether or not I want to do it black or not. But they're going to be pretty much right above your nose, not too far apart. And by having a little stuffing in there, it makes it easier to see where it needs to be placed. My eye placement happens to be that the top of my eyelid is 6 V-stitches down from where we did the drawstring. And between them are 3 full rows coming down. And I'm going to make sure they're positioned nicely and go ahead and snap it on. I'll get 2 good snaps out of these eyes. Okay, I did. Snap, snap. We'll put a little bit of batting, stuffing that is, into our nose. We'll leave a little tiny opening before we go all the way around so we can fine tune our our stuffing. So I'm going to start at the bottom, and that way when I get to the point where I'm back around and I want to tie the knot off, it'll be hidden underneath his nose. The way you get a really, really lovely nose, hold it down on, and when you go into the head, go in where your nose touches your head. But make sure that you go under every single row coming down. Don't miss one row, and you will get a beautiful pucker-free nose every time. So center it up. Hold it on. And I'm going to go underneath into the body tube and then pick up one row, going under both the stitches. Go back into the head tube, go under a V-stitch, and come and pick up the next row. And there it is, the next row. I'm going to snug it up as I go around. Keep looking at it. Don't let it get too close to your eyes. Control your tube. Wherever it's resting on your head, that's where you'll go under. The important stitch, the most important stitch, and don't split threads either, is getting under your row and not missing a row. So this is my next row right here. As I work my way around, I'm going to keep looking at it, making sure that it's lined up evenly, that it looks good up under its eyes, and I'll join you when I get under the chin, and we'll see how we did. The nose is on. Every single row is accounted for. Just kept looking, pressing it down. So when you get back underneath to under the chin, that's a good place to tie it off and bury your thread. So I'm going to do that now. tie it twice so I have a nice sturdy nose. And run it right up into the white of the nose. Okay, so we can take this opportunity to just stuff out the head firmer, and we'll cinch this up until we have an opening maybe this big around. We'll tie a bow. We'll do the bottom and leave maybe more like this so that we can still get more stuffing in there before we call it a day. And I'll join you back when I have mine pretty well stuffed out the way it's going to be. This is my little body stuffed out. I'm going to set it right over here, nice and firm. On the bottom, widened it out to give a firm base for it to sit on. Now these are the two front arms. They're going to be different than the bottom legs because our reindeer is wearing a sweater. I picked out a lighter tan for its hoof. Then this is its body. This is the cuff of the sweater and the sweater. This one's been turned like a beanie. This one has not. So make sure you tie. I triple tied all of these loose ends, tied them nice and tight, and it practically gets rid of your color jog. The row counts for the arm are 10 of the tan for the hoof. So 10 of the tan, 11 of the tan, then 10 of the dark brown. That brings us to 21. Then we need to get our 2 rows of red, and now we're at 23. This is a total of 27 green. That brings us to an even 50. We do 2 of the red, and we're at 52. 10 of the dark brown body color, we're at 62. Finish with 11 of the tan hoof, and we'll be at 73. And you'll make 2 of those. So cinch it up. Find your best side, make a beanie like this one is, and we'll put it on. Alrighty, I did this the same way I did the nose. Tied it off, had the cast off, put it to the inside, tied it, and then when I flipped it around, I got the nice stitches up on the top. We're going to pad out the paw, make a little round ball. We want them to both be about the same size. I see a red thread up in here. If it's going to be on the underneath side, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so we want them to be about the same. I like this one. Stretch this out. A little paw on the end. Alrighty. I'm going to line your colors up inside. That is not lined up. That's going to take a little more work. Getting that red lined up on there. So get yours lined up. Just even if you have to take a needle and poke it through and see if you're on the red on the other side. If you need to put a bobby pin in it for a moment or two to get them lined up, you can do that. Make sure that your stuffing stays down in the bottom of it, and meet me back in a minute. Have a bobby pin, just one, to line that red up really well. The paw's not very stuffed. It's just, nice to the touch. So we're going to narrow this down by folding it over all the way to the color change. And we're going to find our rows, push it down, bring it up, then find your rows, either going this way or the point going that way, but line them up, and then you'll tie a little knot down here. I was going to use green, but now I think I'm going to switch to brown because when I tie my knot, I don't want it to show there. And then I'm going to go under 2 bars, under 2 bars, under 2, under 2, all the way up, and then tie it off at the top. I'm going to do both of them that way, and I'll join you back after I do the first one to show you what it looks like. Switch to brown, pushing down, making sure I don't have a color change showing up on the top. Still have my bobby pin in here. So I'll start by finding my rows. My points are just happen to be going that way, but it really doesn't matter which way yours are going. So I'm going to get under the V-stitch on both of them and tie a single knot. Leave myself a long enough tail to bury. Tie that. That gives me a really snug, secure stitch right there. Okay, now we're going to mattress stitch. So I'm going to just find my row. Both of them go in the same direction. I'm going to go under those 2, and then under 2, 2, and 2, and work my way to the top. We all know how to mattress stitch. All right, I'll be back in a minute. I'll have both arms done. 2 cute little arms. We'll set those aside. Mattress stitched up. And these were lined up, but when I pulled my mattress stitch, they went off a little bit. You can line them back up by pulling it, but it's not going to show, so don't stress it. These are our back legs. So we're going to do the same size hoof. We're going to do 10 of the tan, 50 of the dark brown, and that brings us to 61. Then 11 of the tan hoof, and we're at 72. We're going to do 2 of them. I've already snugged up each end that was my cast off row, so I know it's going to be the nicer of the rows. I'm going to turn them in half and be back with you when we're ready to take care of these. The first one's flipped, and it'll look like this. I'm going to do the second one, and then we'll actually attach it to the body so that our little reindeer can sit, and we'll know where to put the top arms. 2 back legs. So we're going to stuff them out. Put some stuffing down in the paw to make a nice little hoof. You'll be able to see if you're lined up. I see dark brown thread right here, so I know that I've got to pull this up a little bit. And now it appears to be pretty well lined up. I'm going to do the same thing with this one until they look the same. These are going to have a little bit of stuffing in the leg, whereas the arms did not, but we're not overstuffing it. Okay, so now we have a nice paw, and we can put some more stuffing up into the leg. Kind of flattening it out a little bit. Use your fingers to smooth it out in here. And up here where it's going to attach to the body, we won't have the stuffing there. So it's going to be, that's probably 1.5 inches, 3 fingers down from the top. So my stuffing stops right here. Try to get them both looking the same. Three fingers. Do they visually look the same? Pretty close. Okay, so little guy. Off camera, I went ahead and tied a knot in this neck draw yarn and buried the ends because it looked pretty good. I still have this opening at the bottom here where I can fine tune. So we're going to stand our guy up, put his legs on, and it's going to allow him to sit. So where do we want the legs to be? I'll flip him over. We have to have a little bit for him to sit on that's flat. So that's about a thumb's worth from the opening here up. And that'll get drawn up, but stay up about from the joint of my thumb up. That's about where I'm putting it. And if you look at him from the side, it's just cutting the body in half, front and back, coming down about where you'd think his ear would be, coming this way. And I'm going to first sew on the outside edge, completely staying in a row coming up this way. So I'll go under 2 bars and under my V stitches, but I don't have to go under just 1. If I need to go under 2 to keep it from going up too far, because we're still going to have our arm in here, then I can do that. So I'm going to put him down, get my brown thread, and we'll sew a leg on together. I'm happy with how it's stuffed out. It's pretty flat on the bottom. It's nice and full, so I'm going to go ahead and actually shorten these yarns and tie my knot. And I'll come back and reinforce that later by actually sewing it shut. Okay, so here we are now. And here's our center point coming down. I can line this up. That's going to sit really nice. So I have it at the top of my red line. And I'm going to just smush it up just a little bit so that I still have that from knuckle to the end of my finger, from where the beanie's cinched up to where I'm going to start sewing. I'm going to go under 2 bars. I'm in 1 row going up. Leave myself a tail to tie onto when I get back around. Now I'm going to go at the end. I know it's hard to see that. It's hard to see the light. I'm just going to go under every single row on this part. And it doesn't even matter if I have to go under 2 to keep it lined up to the top of the red and, 1 inch from where the beanie got cinched together at the bottom. Okay, so here we go. Just going under 2 bars and then finding my next row. I already know that I'm going to go under 2 rows on the arm. That'll still cinch up really nice. Then 2 bars on the body and 2 rows. 2 rows on the arm. 2 bars on the body and 2 rows on the arm. That's not an arm, that's a leg. Forget what I'm saying. It's a leg. Okay, 2 bars on the body, and then I'm finding my two rows on my leg, snugging it, and that ends up absolutely perfectly on the top of the red sweater line. And here's my last 2 right here. Voila! Couldn't have asked for it to be any better. Set them up, and if he's sitting good like that, and mine's very happy with that. So cute. Wait till you see the adornments that go on this. It'll really pop it. So I'm going to flip this up. I want the legs to stay to its body. So now I'm at the very top of the red. I'm going to just go under a row, pick a row on its leg and go under 2 bars. go under one row and under 2 bars, and do that 3 times. So I've advanced 3 rows. That actually I'm going to do it a 4th time. I want to keep it snug to its body, up onto the leg. Yep, one more time. So that's 4 of the red rows in the red, ending up in the leg. Now, hold that leg to the body, flip it back, and just attach it. So I'm going to just go under a couple, not being very careful here. Taking this 2 to 3 stitches, just keeping this leg anchored to its body so it won't flop open. So just keep coming around. You'll pop out about right here, and then you'll just mattress stitch this and tie off to your original thread. Make sure everything's snugged up. Do both legs that way, and we'll join back and put the arms on. We're ready to sew the arms on. So what I want to do so that I don't have bulk, I'm going to just pull this up so that I actually have a single layer to sew right here, like this, as much as I can pull it on both of them. And it will pull up. Then line them up. You'll be lining your red bands up pretty good on each side of its snout, lined up with the top of the green. It'll come right down from the top of the green onto your leg, aiming up towards the side of the snout. And what we'll do is join it up with the leg right here. We're going to do under our rows, go into the body. We're slightly angling it forward. The same with this side. Then when we get to the top, we're going to flip it over, come down the inside, and join back where we started and tie it off. I'm going to do that off camera. It's just like the bottom legs, except it's the top arm. And we're angling it just slightly. We're not going to have it like this, or it can't come down to the table. And we want it to come down like this. So that's why we're giving it a slight angle. So let's get both of those sewn on, and then we can start the antlers and ears. That literally just took 5 minutes, and it turned out perfectly. Once I tied off right here on top of the leg, I went under 2 rows, 2 bars, 2 rows, 2 bars, slightly coming forward, and it ended exactly right. Then I flopped it over and just sewed the inside, catching the edge of the part that we had pushed down so that we would have a single layer here. And look how nice he sits. There's your cute little adorable guy that needs some antlers. So I think the antlers are next, and a surprise for the nose. 2 options for the nose. Here are the antlers. 2 on the 22 pin, of course. It's pretty obvious. This is 30, 30, 12, and 12. We're going to mattress stitch it closed, mattress stitch the short one closed, and sew it on so that it has a nub on it. We'll do both of them the same. So mattress stitch to the end, close this one up, put it on where you think it looks cute, probably about right here, and then join me back. Well, that didn't take too long. Here's 2 antlers that'll go on like this. So let's get our little guy. And something I discovered on the prototype, the ears are also 12. So 12, 12, 12, 12. But when we put the ears on underneath the antler, It acts as a wedge and actually sturdies the antler. It works really well. So that's what I discovered on my prototype. So let's thread up a needle. This is a little bit long. Decide where we're going to put these antlers. Finish closing up the head, and this is still just a bow. Okay, I don't foresee wanting any more stuffing up there, so I'm going to cinch it up as tight as I can get it without breaking a thread, which would be a disaster at this point. We've come so far. Tied it a knot. Reinforce it by going around again. And then I'm going to sew it shut. Simply going to take my needle and just go across it till that's shut or closed. Definitely going to be a beanie, not a beanie, a pom-pom or something decorative up there. Okay, that closes it. I just come back down closer to my original thread I was tying to. Tie that and bury it. I'll do that off camera and then we'll put the antlers on. You have both antlers made. Decide where you're going to put them and sew them on. So I have this needle ready and I'm just pretty much right over top of the shoulder, halfway back. I really can't do this too well on camera. If I try to get all of him in, I have to have the camera behind me and then my arm's in the way. So I'm just going to come up one row, one V-stitch off of the cast on row, come in to the head, go all the way around, go around a second time and tie it off. I'll be right back and I'll have both horns on. Antlers. The first time you go around to sew the antler on, go around and get it really nice and snug. And then the second time you go around, go one V-stitch further up or one row further up, and it just gives you a better base. And these are a little bit floppy, but we still have the ears to put on. So cinch one end of the ear up, then snug the base up over 2 fingers. When you put the ear on, it helps to anchor that. And I even sew about a couple stitches in the antler to the ear just for extra stability. So we're on the home stretch. Put that little knot in the tip of the ear and tie a knot after you get it all cinched up nice and snug. Back up. Let's back you up. Then I like to sew the tip together, so I'll take at least a couple stitches just right across. 1, 2, tie a knot. Then I bury my thread all the way down so I have something to tie to as I'm going around. I like to have one that I can tie off to. So I'm going to get all the way to the end, tie one little knot, a single knot. Whoops, wasn't enough. Try again. Didn't want that ear to cinch up. Okay, so now I have a cute little ear. When you get to that point, then you'll put it under your antenna with it kind of facing forward. Sew all the way around it and actually take a couple stitches your antenna, your antler onto that ear. So they'll look like this. Two cute little ears. Kind of tip them forward just a little bit like this. Not very good light. Let me see if I bring him up to the camera a little bit. So like this, so that they're just a little bit forward. We're going to take a couple stitches on the antler, just a couple. That'll sturdy this up. So sew an ear on, don't tie knots until you get the second ear on and you're happy with it. And I almost forgot to say, whip stitch the end of this closed, the end of your ear. Before you sew it on. Just take about 4 or 5 stitches across, tie another little knot, and now you're ready to sew it on. Like this. I'm bringing my ear just a little bit forward of my antler, so when I'm tacking my antler, I'm going to be at least 2 rows back on the ear. Be right back and I'll show you how I have it sewn on. The first ear is on. I didn't have enough thread to do it all at once, so now I'm just going to take a stitch and anchor the antler to the top of that ear. I'm going to tie it on and leave a thread to tie off to, and just take a couple stitches here. My third one. I'm going to tie off again and bury these threads. Do the same thing on the other ear. And here's what I've got. Be right back with the other ear on. And just before I call it done and ready for accessories, I want to close up the butt. I already tied the knot, but I just wanted to take a couple stitches across here. Tie it again, bury the threads. I want to do a little bit of decoration on his sweater with some white to pop it, and then something very special with his antlers. Or her, his or her antlers. Have a piece of yarn to bury here. Okay, my prototype has a beautiful scarf with pom-poms on the end. And I definitely know that he's or she is going to also have a scarf. So pick out colors that you think you might like. I'll show you the scarf I used on the prototype, tie it onto this one, see what you think, and then we'll finish decorating. He has a scarf on, and this is, I might be saying it wrong, Caron, Caron, Simply Soft. And I used it because it is so soft, it's less bulky when you tie it. And this was 95 rows. It could have been just a little bit shorter. Really depends on the yarn you're using, because if I made this 3 times with 3 different kinds of yarn, it would be 3 different sizes. And that's just the way it goes. So this is what is going to really make this different than just an ordinary reindeer. And that is this little item that I got from Amazon. 6 of them were $6.99. So you could do 6 of these for about $1, less than $1.25 each. They have a battery life of about 48 hours continuous use. So what I did is I bought a pack of 40 of the little round batteries that go in here. When I sell my reindeers or whatever else is going to be under the playlist, light up your tubes, I'm going to give them extra batteries, at least 4 extra batteries, and that gives them a lot more time, that if they think they're going to use it a lot of hours, they can order their own. I'll even make sure they have a link. So when I turn